Good morning, dear students, and welcome back to your English lesson. Let's start our class with a thought. Thought for the day. Life and time are the world's best teachers. Life teaches us the use of time, and time teaches us the value of life. This means don't give up because things are tough. Live with happiness in your heart. Stay positive. Believe in yourself. Always think that you are the best. I repeat, always think that you are the best. You will definitely succeed. I repeat the thought. Life and time are the world's best teachers. Life teaches us the use of time, and time teaches us the value of life. Today, we are starting a new lesson from our textbook First Flight. Lesson 10, The Sermon at Benares. The name of our lesson is The Sermon at Benares. Let's meet the author, Betty Barber. The author's name is Betty Louise Renshaw Barber. She was born in Shannon, Mississippi. She was born on September 3, 1927 and died on September 3, 2013. She was a teacher as well as a missionary. She made several mission trips with her husband, Joseph Henry Barber Jr. Before we read, let's think what this lesson is going to be about. The name of the lesson, The Sermon at Benares. So in this lesson, we will discover the mystery of life and death along with the author. Okay? And also we will understand that death is the ultimate truth. How do you feel when some dear and near ones happen to die? We feel grief stricken. We are full of sorrow. Our heart will be filled with sorrow. This lesson is going to remind us that death is the ultimate truth. Death is the ultimate reality. Every creature who is born must die one day. I have a few questions. These questions are from your textbook. So first question, what is a sermon? So the title, The Sermon at Benares. So we should know what a sermon is. Only then we will be able to understand this lesson. What is a sermon? A sermon is a talk on a religious or moral subject. It is a serious talk. Okay, so it is different from a lecture. A lecture can be on any subject, but this is only on a moral subject or a religious subject. And second question, can this word also be used in a negative way or as a joke? So we already know that sermon has one meaning, that is a talk on a religious or moral subject. Does this word have any other meaning? Does the word sermon have any other meaning? Sermon, any other meaning? Yes, the word has another meaning also. It can also be used in a negative way. It can be used as a joke. For example, my mother's sermon about getting my work done on time irritates me. Or my mother always gives me a sermon about getting my work done on time. My mother always gives me a sermon. So in this sentence, in this context, the word sermon is used as an irony or as a sarcasm. Okay, so the word sermon has two different meanings. One meaning is a serious talk on a religious or moral subject, and the second meaning is it is used in a negative sense as an irony or a sarcasm. And the third question you have is, have you heard of the Sermon on the Mount? Some of you might have heard. So if you have heard, who delivered it? If you have no idea, look at the picture. The picture gives you a clue. So the Sermon on the Mount. Mount means mountain. Mountain was delivered by Jesus Christ. And the last question, who do you think delivered a sermon at Benares? So if you have no idea who delivered the sermon, look at the picture, you will get the answer. The sermon at Benares was delivered by Lord Buddha. So today In this lesson, first we will learn about Lord Buddha, his birth and his work. That is a short biography of Lord Buddha. Then we will read the first sermon at Benares. Okay, so Lord Buddha, or his name is Gautama Buddha. He lived between 563 BC to 483 BC, 483 BC. He began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. How did he begin his life? As a prince. He was a prince. He was born in a palace. His parents were king and queen. He was born as the son of a king and queen. So he lived as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. Where did he live? In northern India. So I think some of you at least, I think you know the story of, or you know about the life and work of Lord Buddha. He was born in Lumpini in a kingdom called Kabilavastu, to King Sudodana and Queen Mahamaya. His father's name King Sudodana, mother's name Queen Mahamaya, and the kingdom he was born, Kabilavastu. The place of birth is Lumpini. Lumpini lies in present-day Nepal. So he was born to King Sudodana and Queen Mahamaya. A wise man visited the palace to see the young prince. He told the king that when he would grow up, if he happened to see the sufferings of the world, he would leave the palace and he would become a teacher. But the king did not want his son to be a teacher. He wanted his son to rule the kingdom. So what did he do? He never allowed Siddhartha to go outside the palace gates. He always shielded him from the sufferings of the world. However, at 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. When he was 12 years old, his father sent him to school. So the school was not like our present day school. In those days, that is about 2600 years before about 2600 years ago, he was born. So you can imagine how schools were like in those days. In those days, students visited teachers' home, stayed at a teacher's home and studied. So Prince Siddhartha was sent to the teacher's home for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures. He had to study Hindu holy books. And 4 years later, he returned. So he stayed with the teacher for 4 years. After 4 years, that is when he was 16. At 12, he was sent for schooling. At 16, he came back and he married a princess. He married a princess. So you know that prince is the son of a king, princess is the daughter of a king. He married a princess. Then they lived happily. He lived happily with the princess in the palace for 10 years. They had a son. The name of the son is not given in the text, but his son's name was Rahula. And later, his son Rahula also became a disciple of one of the famous disciples of Lord Buddha, Rahula. Okay, so Lord Buddha's son also became a Buddhist, became his disciple. They had a son and they lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. They lived a comfortable life. He lived a comfortable life in the palace for 10 years. Like a prince he lived at about the age of 25. So till 25 there was no problem in his life. He was very happy. He never knew about the sufferings of the world. So but at the age of 25, what happened? One day he went out hunting. Okay. So at the age of 25, the prince heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world. Up to this time, until now, the king shielded him, covered him, or hid from him the sufferings of the world. He did never have a chance to witness the sufferings of the world. He went out hunting. While out hunting, he chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So one day when he was 25 years of age, at 25 he went out hunting, and on the way, who did he see? He encountered 4 things. Those things are unpleasant things. He encountered 4 unpleasant things. Number 1, what did he see? He saw sick man. He chanced upon a sick man. That means he encountered a sick man. So, for first time in his life, he was witnessing sickness. He had never seen sickness. He never knew what sickness was. He had never seen a sick man in his life. Then an aged man. Secondly, what did he see? What did he encounter, or whom did he encounter? Secondly, an aged man, that is an old man. You can look at the picture, you can see the old man. He has a bent body, his body is already bent and he cannot walk properly, so he is walking with the support of a stick. Okay, this saddened him. So he asked the charioteer means the one who is driving the chariot. So what happened, why he is walking like that? The charioteer explained, that is a sick, that is an old man. So people, they grow old and they lose their charm, their skin gets wrinkled. So the charioteer explained everything. He became sadder and sadder. And thirdly, then a funeral procession. He had never seen death. He never thought that, he never knew that people would die. So what did he see? Funeral procession. Funeral. What is a funeral? That is, funeral is a ceremony conducted immediately after somebody's death. If a person is dead, immediately after the death, funeral, that is ceremony, is conducted to bury the body or to cremate the dead body. Either the body is cremated or buried. So the ceremony, as a procession, the dead body is taken to the cremation ground or burial place. So by one day, while out hunting, he chanced upon which three things we discussed? First, a sick man. Second, an aged man. Third, a funeral procession. And fourth, finally, a monk begging for alms. Last picture, look at the last picture. You can see sitting under a tree, a monk begging for alms, asking for food and money, requesting for food and money. So these sights saddened him. He became sadder and sadder. He went back to the palace. He requested his father to let him leave the palace to seek enlightenment, to know about the truths of life, mystery of life and death, because he was disturbed. So these sights so moved him, made him so sad, made him so touched his heart, that he at once went out into the world. He sought permission from his father, but his father did not give him permission. So what did he do? At night, when everyone was sleeping, unnoticed by everyone, he left the palace. Secretly, he left the palace. He went out into the world. Why did he leave the palace? To seek enlightenment, that is, to gain knowledge, to gain enlightenment, to attain enlightenment, to gain spiritual knowledge concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. That is, he wanted to know why, he wanted to know the reason why there is illness in the world. He wanted to know the reason why people become old. He wanted to know the reason why people die. So he went out in search of the answers to these questions. He wanted to attain spiritual knowledge. He wandered for 7 years. How many years did he go here and there? 7 years. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree. Where did he sit down? Peepal tree. What is the name of the tree? Peepal tree. So 7 years he went from here to there. He walked here and there, and at last, after 7 years, once he came near a forest. He came to a forest and there was a peepal tree in the forest. He sat down under the tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. When he sat down there, before he sat down there, he vowed, he pledged that he would not move from there until he got enlightenment. Okay, so he sat down under the tree and started meditating. Enlightened after 7 days, he completed 7 days. That is, when 7th day was completed, what happened? He got enlightened. He got enlightened. He understood the reason why there was a sorrow. So he got enlightenment, and first thing he did was he renamed the tree. Which tree was it? What was the name of the tree where he was sitting? Peepal tree. So he renamed. He gave a new name to the tree. The name given by Buddha was the Bodhi tree. The name of the tree, people tree, he changed the name as Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree means tree of wisdom. And he began to teach and to share his new understandings. So he understood the mystery of life and death. Why? He also understood the reason why there was suffering in the world. So whatever he understood, whatever spiritual knowledge he gained, he started teaching and sharing with others. At that point, he became known as the Buddha. After he gained enlightenment, people started calling him the Buddha, or he came to be known as the Buddha. The Buddha means the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares. Where did he preach his first sermon, deliver his first sermon? Benares. Benares, there is a description about Benares. It is most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. Two descriptions are there. One, Benares is on the river Ganges. River Ganges means river Ganga, on the banks of the river Ganga. And it is also another description, most holy of the dipping places, most holy of the bathing places, most holy of the bathing places. People think that if they dip in the water of Ganga near Varanasi, that is, if they bathe in the water of Ganga water near Varanasi, there they will be they will become pure, their sins will be forgiven. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. Okay, so the first sermon was given at the city of Benares. Notice that, or remember, I want to remind you that this sermon was given 2600 years ago, but this sermon has been preserved, and this sermon we are going to study in the next class, that is tomorrow. This sermon reflects the Buddha's wisdom. This sermon tells us about the wisdom of Buddha. Buddha's wisdom about what? Buddha's wisdom about inscrutable kind of suffering. The suffering that cannot be understood. Human suffering cannot be understood. So this sermon reflects, tells us, shows, reveals Buddha's wisdom, Buddha's spiritual knowledge about why people suffer in this world. So we will learn, we will read the sermon at Benares tomorrow, and also we will think about the sermon at Benares, and let us think about our ideas regarding the sermon. Okay, today, since we have completed the introduction to the lesson and also the first paragraph of the lesson, so you have a task today. Your task is to read and record today's text and send the audio clip. Thank you.